Right there. Doc Rivers was honest after the game, taking the blame for the Clippers' collapse. Take a listen to what he had to say.
No, we didn't meet him. That's the bottom line. I'm the coach, and I'll take any blame for it. But we didn't meet our expectations, clearly. Because we had, in my opinion, we'd still be playing.
Broussard, how much of this do you put on Doc, and does he stick around, or is that it for him after, having this happen to him again, down 3-1, up 3-1, and then losing series?
I don't think a lot of media are going to say this because Doc is great with the media, and Doc is a great guy. Everybody loves Doc. I like him a lot. But let's face it, he was honest, so I'm going to be honest. He deserves a ton of the blame. You mentioned now 3 times his teams have collapsed, having 3-1 leads. You look at this series, they made no major adjustments of any consequence. His players were fatigued. He even said it after the game that they had guys were asking out, well, who's that to blame on? The coach. Get your guys in shape. Everybody was in the bubble. Everybody was off 4 months. Everybody had the same circumstances. Get your guys in shape. They weren't motivated. They had no spirit. They had no chemistry. They didn't execute properly. That is all on the coach. Doc, I said it in the first round. He was outcoached by Rick Carlisle, and he was outcoached by Mike Malone. This is a lot on Doc Rivers. And I'm not saying you definitively fire him, but they have got to look closely at this situation because the successor could be sitting right there on your bench in Tyronn Lue, and obviously other teams want him. So they got to figure this out because Doc is underachieved. He underachieved with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan. I know they had a few injuries in the playoffs, but still, and he underachieved this year. When I got better guys than you got and you beat me, it's on me as the coach.
Listen, I would want Chris Broussard, if something were to happen to me, I'd be great with Chris Broussard raising my kids. I want Chris Broussard to give me broadcasting advice. There's a lot of things I love and respect about Chris Broussard. I don't want him picking my NBA Finals, evidently. I feel the same way about Doc Rivers. I love him as a man. I want Doc Rivers to be a leader, to give motivational speeches, to help take a team from the brink, from the depths of a horrible racist owner and bring them through it to the other side. I don't want Doc Rivers to coach a team that has championship aspirations unless Kevin Garnett's coming with him, unless one of the greatest leaders in NBA history is alongside him. Because without Kevin Garnett, all we've seen Doc Rivers teams do is underachieve in the biggest spots, blow 3-1 or 3-2 leads, which he's now done 6 times, 3-3-1, 3 times 3-2. And at the end of the year, all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe we'll get them next year. Running out of next year's. Luckily, there's a lot of gorgeous golf courses in Los Angeles, and I'll have some more time on them coming up, Jenna.
Can I be the Doc defender? This 3-1 lead thing. Okay. First of all, the Magic Pistons series was an 8-1 series. They weren't supposed to win that. And it's like the way that it played out, I get it. But like that was an 8-1. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. But here's another take on Doc's performance over this bubble. Maybe he knew all along this team doesn't have it. This team doesn't have. I've seen a championship team. I've coached a championship team. This team doesn't have it. And I'm not going to go out there and lie to you. We've seen it, and when they did the little mics up, he's like, we're emotionally weak. We need to stay in the game. I don't know if it's fair, Broussard, to tell professional athletes to come in shape. Like, what is Doc got to be like Joe Judge and the Giants and telling people to run laps? That's not Doc Rivers' job. Like, I think he looks.
Is it his job to not blow 19 points second half leads? Wilds, is it his job to not blow 19 point second half leads? Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, let me piggyback off of Wilds, right? Because I think Antoine did a great job early in the show walking us through the mindset of this team. Remember what he said. He said they were one of the only teams that said they didn't want to return. They were one of the only teams that said they didn't want to come to the bubble. And then you had a couple players that had family issues and really was in and out of the bubble. So when you look at the mindset of this team, they weren't ready to play. It didn't seem like they wanted to play. And when you hear those comments about a player not being in shape and not being able to play them minutes, to me that's more on the player than it is the coach. Like, they took this quarantine thing really too serious. Like, we saw Giannis turn his living room into his workout training facility. So what excuse do they have? There's no excuse as a player to not come back to play in shape. That is 100% on these guys. And yes, Doc needs to take blame. He needs to take ownership because it's his team. But at the end of the day, these players got to be pros. Maybe in high school, maybe in college, but not at this level. Right. These guys got to be in shape.
Tragic in 1984. Isaiah Thomas throwing the pass away to Larry Bird in 1987. LeBron James against Dallas in 2011. Larry Bird in his first finals, 8 points, 12 points in 3 games.
Those are the finals. That's in the finals.
But it's still.
It don't happen in the second round, bro.
Hold on, no. Kawhi Leonard did not.
This is why. Chris.
Guys did. He can bounce back. He can learn from it and bounce back. That's all I'm saying.
Chris, I see why you've been on TV so long. You just use your journalism degree to flip this whole narrative and flip the whole story. Come on, man. What Paul George said in his press conference after game was ridiculous. That is not the mindset you want from your superstar player. A guy that left one team and went to another team and came to another team for a championship. When is the best time to win a championship? Look in the basketball. Look in the basketball world right now. Golden State Warriors, they're depleted. The LA Lakers, they're in the same boat as the Clippers. This is their first year together. AD's first year there. And then when you go to the East, everybody is saying, and you probably one of these guys too, I can probably pull it out of the archives. Oh, the East is so weak. So when is the best time to win a championship?
No, of course. I know they wanted to win it this year. I agree with you there. But you guys are acting like they're old. Like they can't come back next year. Like they have no chance. This was it. It's not championship or bust. You don't think they're going to be humbled next year? You don't think they're going to be motivated? You don't think they're going to take the regular season seriously? Really?
It's harder. I'm just saying as a competitor.
I don't. Here's what I think. Here's what I think, Broussard. Broussard, here's what I think. I think they're stuck. I think, and there was someone who said at the beginning of the year, this is an odd-fitting roster. You got a bunch of specialists. You got a great defensive point guard who stinks on offense and a great offensive guard who stinks on defense. You got a great offensive big man who doesn't rebound for his position and can't play D in Montrezl Harrell. You got a guy in Zubac who is the most over-adulated 7-point-a-game player I've ever seen in my life. You have no rim protector in a conference where you got to get through Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic evidently as well. And you got a guy in Kawhi who, despite the fact that he's the most load-managed player we've ever seen, wore down entirely in the second half of these games, who is not built for every other night 40-plus minutes. That's what you've got. And by the way, they're not in it for the long haul. Kawhi and Paul George could have signed 4-year deals. They could have signed 3+1s. They signed 2+1s, meaning you only have 1 guaranteed year left with them because they wanted to give themselves an emergency hatch parachute. There's no other reason for it. And if this isn't enough to make at least one of them consider pulling that parachute, then nothing will be. But I hope they run it back. I hope they keep running it back, and in 2024, we can talk about on paper how great this fraudulent team is. Because they've never looked like a championship team, Jenna. Never.
But here's my question. How much respect